Today we have Phil Wiseman. He is with Analytics That Profit, and we're going to be talking about SEO, websites, marketing. Phil, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, how you help business owners.
Hey, appreciate you having me on the podcast, James. Yeah, this all kind of started by accident. I'd sold a business and was working with another company and didn't understand websites or marketing or ads or any of these things. And so I educated myself to learn about Google Analytics and what websites should do and how to measure that for effectiveness. In that process, I would talk with other business owners and like, man, we need this kind of help. And so I started Analytics at Profit to focus on small businesses that had questions like, is my marketing working? How are people finding my website? And what are they doing? And what pages are they visiting? And these are all really important questions for business owners, for marketers to find out if the money you're spending on marketing is actually attracting customers.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of scary out there. I'm a business owner, and you can spend a lot of money and really not see any results. And I think there's a lot of companies that are, frankly, kind of predators. They're kind of preying on a lot of these business owners who are basically ignorant because it looks simple, but it definitely can get very complicated when it comes to your Google search results.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. There are a lot of predatory practices that are misleading. People will represent themselves as if they're calling you from Google about your business listing. They'll make all kinds of outrageous promises. And the biggest problem is people buy things they don't understand. And so often I'll talk with business owners and they go, well, I'm paying for marketing or I'm paying for SEO, but I don't know what it's supposed to do. And so my big philosophy is never, ever pay for something you don't understand. And so I try to do a lot of education so business owners kind of understand all these weird terms, what should be happening. And then I also really encourage people to have a scope of work in writing with anybody they do business with so they know exactly what they're paying for and what the outcome should be. Most of these companies that you mentioned, they're kind of predatory. They don't give you a scope of work. And I tell everybody the biggest red flag in marketing is give it 3 more months.
Mm. Well, I do know there's free resources out there, so we're going to touch on that now. When it comes to people finding your business, are there ways that can be found out for free?
Yes, everything a business owner needs is free. A lot of times the business owners are too busy running their business to get up to speed on these things, but one of the best free tools is Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is free, and it's just a little piece of code that you put on your website, and it will tell you what pages were visited on your website, how long you stayed there. You can also create things called events. So let's say that your business really wants people to make phone calls to the business. You can put an event in and tag that. So when people touch your phone number on the website on a mobile device, it'll show that event and show you how many phone calls you received. Or if they're filling out a form for information or contact, you can record that as well. And then often overlooked, really important piece that's also free is called Google Search Console. And you connect that with your Google Analytics. And with Google Search Console, you actually give your sitemap to Google and it crawls your index, will tell you, hey, we did not index this page, so it's not available for search. Here's the reason why. And then you can go in and fix that. And then what I really get excited about with adding Google Search Console to Google Analytics is it will tell you what search terms that you showed up for when people were searching the internet. And it will also tell you what position you are in search. So were you on page one, page two, or page 20? And then what's also really good is it will tell you this is how many times you showed up for that search terms and also tell you how many times people clicked through with that search term and visited your website. And they call it a CTR or click through rate. And that's a really simple metric. It's how many people clicked your website by how many people saw that search term. So it's a really simple metric. I always encourage people to take a look at that and go, if that's a search term and you're getting less than a 1% click through rate, there's an opportunity to go back and make some changes to your website to align your messaging more with your ideal client. Both of those are free from Google, and they're just great tools to really inform how your website is producing.
Now, you mentioned searches and key searches. Is that the same as keywords? That's a buzz term you see a lot.
Yes, so keywords, it's a great buzzword. I address it a little bit differently. Yes, keywords are a thing, they are important, but when I talk to business owners, the first thing I ask them is, what are 5 questions you are asked every business gets asked the same question all the time. That should be the focus of the content on your website, answering those customer questions. And those keywords or those search queries or those phrases are how you're going to show up in search. And so if you answer those questions, that helps you show up better in search results. Problem I find is people will create a list of, I've seen lists as long as 300 keywords that people want to show up for in internet searches. The problem with that is when you focus on too many things, nothing gets done. So I encourage people to chunk that up and go, okay, let's focus on 10 phrases, 10 keywords, 10 search queries that you want to be found when people are searching the internet. And then other really big disconnect. If you don't answer those questions and have those words in your page titles, the URL of your website, you're not going to show up for those words. It's about that simple, but there is a big disconnect on keywords and search queries. Just because you want to show up for something and a company says, oh, we'll make you show up for that. You actually have to have content on your website that is structured for search engines to show up. And I tell everybody, it's like when you used to go to the library, pull that card out of the card file. And then you would go find the book on the shelf. That's exactly how a search engine looks at your website. It looks at the URL. So how you name that website page is important. Then it looks at the page title. Then it looks at the headers in the website. So it's kind of like if it's scanning your website page as if it's looking at a book and it's looking for chapter headings, scans the words, does all that, in just under, a nanosecond. It's really fast. And then it shows up as a search result. And you often see this when you're searching, you'll see bolded words under those different website pages that show up. And those bolded words are words that are matching the query or the question that you put in the search engine.
Right. And that really is the goal is to get people who are looking for your product or service. And that kind of leads into my next question is how do we know if the marketing is working? And are you really after more website visits or are you trying to get more conversion when people actually reach your website?
And, and to our first comments about predatory practices, I was working with a rather large company and they had purchased a lead generation service. And so I asked them, I said, how's that working for you? And he's like, well, we got 756 leads last year. I said, well, that sounds pretty good. He goes, no, it was terrible. He said, of all those leads, only 2 of them were remotely qualified to be our client, and neither one of those 2 purchased. And so to your point, you want to attract your ideal customer. And so oftentimes when you hire an SEO expert, you will see a decrease in website traffic because they're going to focus the content and the marketing around your ideal client. And that's what you want to do. It's not about likes, clicks, impressions, shares, visits. It's about customer acquisition. So people can get caught up in all those vanity metrics of, I had 3,000 visitors to my website last month. How many became customers is the question asking. So it's all about customer acquisition. And, search has changed so much. Um, People don't want to be sold anymore. They want to buy. And there's a big difference. So when you go out to the internet, you have questions, these searches come up, you go to a website, it needs to be really clear, obvious how somebody can buy from you. And so just simple things at the top of your website, a clickable phone number, a clickable appointment link. So schedule time to ask you questions, or a very clear call to action that tells them how to move forward in the buying process. And so just doing those really simple things makes the buying process easier and you will close more deals.
How important is the Google business profile in your experience?
The Google business profile, it is free. So I really want to stress that. So I've seen a lot of predatory practices where people will call businesses, they'll position themselves as if they're Google, and Google will never call you unless you have put a customer support ticket and requested a call back. And so those predatory companies will come in and tell you, oh, we'll get your business listed, we'll get you verified, we'll do all these things. It'll be 500, 1,500, $2,000. Google Business Profile is free. It used to be called Google My Business. They've recently changed it to Google Business Profile. And so a lot of times I'm asked, but Phil, I don't really have a bricks and mortar store where people come in and buy from me. Does this Google Business Profile make sense? Yes, it does, because there's a lot of features there that folks are unaware of. You can list your services on your Google Business Profile. If you have products, you can list your products and have links back to your website so people buy those products and services. And often overlooked, let's say you're having an event. There's a feature where you can put your event on that Google Business Profile. You can add updates. So if you're writing a blog or maybe you have a white paper, you can add that to your Google Business Profile. All this is free. It all ties back to your website. And it's really, really important if you're a geographically located business. So let's say your business radius is, within 20 miles, even if you're working from home or have a store, inside of Google Business Profile, you can designate your service area. And then what's really good about Google Business Profile is you can ask people to review your business. And the more positive reviews you have, believe it or not, that influences your results in search, because Google looks at that and says, oh, they have lots of positive reviews. That must mean this is a trustworthy business. It actually not only speaks volumes about your company, your customer service, your relationships, it does, in fact, promote your website, builds trust, and will help you show up better in search results.
So we know there's free resources out there. We've got Google Business Profile, we have Google Analytics, Google Search Console. When does it make sense to start investing in SEO and actually paying a professional?
So that's a great question. And unfortunately, I call SEO the new emperor's clothes, because there's companies that make all kinds of promises. And I think the key thing when you're thinking about, should I hire an expert? Google also has some great resources in their Google SEO optimization guide. There's some great videos on how to select somebody for SEO, what questions you should ask, and what the criteria should be. But most people approach me when they've tried paid ads or they've made all these changes to the website. they're not seeing any improvement. They're not seeing more customers. They're not getting more phone calls. And so if you're in that position where you're like, just doesn't seem like I'm getting phone calls, people aren't filling out the form, I'm not getting, you know, the right kind of website traffic, then that's the time to talk to an expert. But what's critically important before you talk to someone, decide what it is that you consider success. And so, for example, I work with a lot of B2C service businesses. And in that industry, if you're an HVAC contractor or a plumber or an electrician, you want people to call you. And so it's very important that you, on your business profile website, you're measuring how many phone calls you. And so you need to have a clear idea what it is you want to accomplish before you speak to someone, because some of these companies are great at selling, but it's not what you need to buy.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that a lot, and been harassed. Actually, this month, probably 5 times a day, I'm getting phone calls from, I think it's the same company trying to pretend that they're Google, as we were just talking about. So it does make sense, but I have definitely seen small business owners get taken advantage of and really not get anything out of their investment. So it's critical to work with someone who's reputable and is trying to really teach the business owner the best way to make SEO work for them. Now, my last question here is digital assets. Can you tell us what that is? And does a business owner own their digital assets?
Oh, this is such a great question because just this week I put a post out on LinkedIn. Business owner was referred to me and they just weren't happy with their website. And in all honesty, they spent a lot of money on a website that wasn't user friendly. They sold a product online, was difficult to go through their buying process. And so I said, yeah, there's a lot of improvements we can make here. So I thought, well, this is going to be straightforward. We'll just, log into the website. Let's make some changes. Well, they called the company, developed their website. They said, oh, no, we're not giving access to your website. And so there's the first big red flag. And so then the owner was infuriated because they had spent thousands of dollars for a website and weren't even given access to it. And so they reached back out to me and said, that's it. I've had it. This isn't working. I just want to start fresh. Well, then we run into another problem. They did not own their domain. And so some people go, what's a domain name? So my domain is analyticsthatprofit.com. And I happen to have that registered with GoDaddy. And I'm the owner domain. In this case, this marketing agency had purchased the domain. The business owner did not own it. So now we have a bigger problem. We're going to have to come up with a new domain. Luckily, we were fortunate that their brand .shop was available. So we did purchase that. But a business owner, when it comes to digital assets, your domain name is something you should own. If you're not sure, you can do a thing called Whois, WHOIS, and then put your website name in there. It'll tell you who the registrar is, and then see if you can log in. If you can't log in, then you need to owner access to your domain name. Always encourage business owners to own that domain, own it. And then on your website, you've paid for a website. You should be an administrator on your website. On your Google Analytics, you should be the administrator. On your Google Search Console, you should be the owner. On your Google Business Profile, you should be the owner. And then let's go a step further. Your social media assets. You need to be the admin Facebook page. your LinkedIn page, your LinkedIn company page. Because what happens is if you don't own, and if you're not an administrator with all these digital assets, you're ready to make a change. All of a sudden, it's like you're held for ransom because the company that you're working with, they're not going to give you the access. I've seen this happen time and time again. I think it's just disgusting and just a wretched business practice. Some marketing companies do this, not all, but many will not release those assets. And then the business owner, it's a big because your brand is out there. You're not owning those digital assets. And so I'll just say it again, own your domain, be an admin on your website, own your analytics, search console, Google business profile, and be an admin on all of your social media assets.
That is definitely kind of scary, the idea of getting your name, your .com, and then finding out you don't own it.
Yes, and this isn't the first time I've seen this. When it's happened in the past, I've just reached out to those agencies directly. I'm like, hey guys, why would you want to do this? And oftentimes, when I get high enough up in the food chain, find the owner of the agency, they're like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't do this. But in this particular case, and this is, I like to warn people, they hired this company because they were recommended by this trade association they're involved with. Um, and what's happened is they talked to several other owners in this trade association, and they're all facing the same problem. And then here's what happens, and I understand this. They're all embarrassed because they've made this horrible mistake and worked with this agency that was recommended through the trade group. And it was a terrible decision. Now they're in a terrible spot, and it's just embarrassing. But I encourage people, when you see these unjust, unfair practices, speak up because these companies will continue to get away with it. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, I will often post Uh, if I get a voicemail, I'll actually put the voicemail transcript up there to kind of warn business owners, hey, if you got this message or this phone call or this voicemail, this is a scam. Likewise with emails, I will put emails up there and put little red flags on that, hey, this is a scam, beware. So it all goes back to you, you don't know what you don't know. And you're busy running that business and you're being successful, and then all of a sudden you want to take it to the next level. And this happens frequently. It's like, well, I don't know how to log into the website. I I think one of my employees set up the Facebook page. Yeah, we've got the Google business profile, but I'm not really sure who manages that. And so digital assets are as important as your 401k. They're valuable, you need to manage them, and you need to be in control of them. So yeah, I encourage business owners, no cost to you. Just schedule a 15-minute virtual call with me and ask those questions. I'll get you in the right direction. I'll provide you with all these free resources because I just kind of have a passion for small business and I just see all these things going on and the resources are there. They're free. If you have questions, just a quick chat with me. I'll get you pointed in the right direction. No cost at all.
If you want to learn more about Phil, learn about all the services he does provide, I have his LinkedIn profile and his website in the description.